The breakout is finally here. The breakout that me and all the Warriors fans have been waiting for is finally here. Everyone knows the Golden State Warriors have been absolutely struggling this season. And right around the new year, there was a game where the Warriors faced off against the Nuggets, and Kuminga had a great first half. He might even play a little bit in the third, but then they got to the fourth quarter, the closing lineup, and Kuminga did not see a single minute. Kuminga then essentially called out the coach and said, I gotta play. And ever since Kuminga essentially told Kerr, you need to play me if we want to win games, he's been backing it up. Take a look at this pre-haircut. He was averaging 13 points per game. You guys can see the percentage, 28% from three. Since the haircut, which is essentially when he told him to play right around the new year, he's been averaging 21.2 points per game on 44.8% from the three. So now the Warriors are in a weird spot. They're 3 games under 500 at a 21-24 record. And now they have this emerging star, and they are hit with the question, do we trade Kuminga and try to essentially win now and bring in some stars that have already established themselves in the league? Or do we hold on to Kuminga and set ourselves up for the future? I think the answer is simple. The answer is obvious. We'll get into it in a second. The last time that Jonathan Kuminga scored under 20 points in a game was January 10th against the Pelicans. Now, when I am recording this, the Warriors are in the second quarter of their game against the Hawks. So if he doesn't score 20 in that game, then I guess the streak would come to an end. But it's been almost a month since Jonathan Kuminga has not scored 20 points in a game. And you guys know, especially if you're a basketball fan, you know how hard it is to get 20 points in a game, especially when you're not the main option. Something else to note is his minutes have increased like crazy. You see, like his first 20-point game, he only played 24 minutes. Then he was playing 30. And then I guess Steve Kerr and the Warriors coaching staff was like, hold on, we might have to give this guy close to 40 minutes per game. In the overtime, the double overtime game, he played 43 minutes. Against the Sixers, he played 39. And then the last game, of course, I'm not talking about the Hawks because that game hasn't ended, but against the Grizzlies, he played 37 and dropped 29 points. You know, you could look at the box score all you want. It doesn't really tell you too much. Also, he's 6'7", has really good length, and he's a solid defender. The answer is simple for the Warriors. And again, if you guys don't know, I am a Warriors fan myself. Do not trade Jonathan Kuminga. He's only 21 years old and he's already looking like he could be a star. Like, bro, do not trade Kuminga. If the Warriors trade Kuminga, because the thing is, I don't know what they're gonna trade him for. You know, are you gonna trade him for Jeremy Grant, maybe Kyle Kuzma? But like, even if you do that, I don't like that, because you bring in those, you know, more so established stars in the league. I don't think adding a Kuzma or adding a Jeremy Grant or someone of that caliber, even like Zach LaVine before he got hurt, even if you want to bring him into the equation, let's say he was healthy, I don't think that puts the Warriors over the top and it makes them like a contender. Everyone knows the Warriors are struggling. You guys take a look at the standings. They are currently 12th in the Western Conference. Only 3 teams that are worse than them: the Grizzlies, the Trailblazers, and the Spurs. And if you've been following the sport of basketball, I mean, these teams, especially the Grizzlies, have been putting out some abysmal lineups. So they are not in a good, you know, grouping of teams right now. But one thing that does go in the Warriors' favor, and I don't think a lot of people know about this, the Warriors have had the hardest strength of schedule up to this point in the year. And so for the remainder of the year, they're gonna have one of the easiest schedules. And currently they have a lot of less games played than a lot of teams like the Jazz. They have 3 less wins and 2 less losses. So they have 5 less games than the Jazz. So the wins column, yeah, it looks like they're behind by like 3 games. Nah, if you look at the games back, they're only behind by half a game from the play-in, barring anything crazy, barring, you know, injuries. You know, you can't really predict stuff like that, and I hope none of that happens. But if everything goes as planned, let's say the Warriors stay as put, they don't make any trades, I think it's pretty safe to say that the Warriors will find themselves in the play-in. And if I had to guess, I would say the Utah Jazz probably fall out of the play-in. For those of you that are not too familiar with Jonathan Kuminga, he was picked in the 2021 NBA draft. So this is his 3rd season. It's always interesting to see, was anyone picked before him that shouldn't have been picked before him? And it's kind of hard with this draft class. This is actually a very good draft class, because Cade, you know, you're not going to pick Kuminga over Cade. Jalen Green, I mean, that's debatable. You could probably say Kuminga over Jalen Green at this point in time. I wouldn't take Kuminga over Mobley. You wouldn't take him over Scotty Barnes. I would say Kuminga over Jalen Suggs. And then Josh Giddey, I mean, I don't know. Josh Giddey looks solid. Sometimes he doesn't. And then you even got a guy like Franz Wagner, who looks really good to start his career right after Kuminga in the draft. You guys can see the game started column. I don't think there's a team. Let's actually sort it by game started. I don't think there's a team with like more play. Like, this is just so like versatile. Like, you could tell the Warriors are kind of confused. Steve Kerr's been trying out a lot of things. There's also, you know, a ton of injuries, suspensions. Chris Paul's been injured. Draymond Green has been suspended. But you guys can see Kuminga is 3rd in points, but he's only started 18 games. So I think the rest of the way, they should start Kuminga. As much as I'm hyping up Kuminga, and this video is pretty much all about him, there is one thing that I don't really love about his game, or that I hope that he works on soon. And that's gonna be, I guess, kind of like his ball handle. Like sometimes when he's in like an ISO situation, or maybe when like Steph Curry goes to the bench, and it's not really Kuminga's offense, but sometimes it is. Like if he's playing with a bunch of other, you know, the bench players like Corey Joseph, maybe Brandon Podziemski or whatever. And, you know, Kuminga feels like it's his offense to run, or, you know, he feels more loose out there. You know, you're not going to force the ball to Steph or Clay or all these guys. I've seen a couple times where Kuminga will try to ISO, try to get a bucket, and he just does some crazy moves sometimes and just loses control of the ball. And a lot of these times that he's doing it, I'm like watching the game, I'm like, Kuminga, bro, come on, just ISO, get a bucket. And then I realize maybe he's not, you know, ready to just completely take over a game like that. But again, he is only 21 years old. So, I mean, the future's looking crazy bright for Kuminga. And so a lot of Warriors fans were thinking you could trade Kuminga. This is kind of earlier in the year. I feel like a lot of people's opinions have changed now, but a lot of people were saying you could trade Kuminga, bring in a star. You know what I'm saying? You could get a lot for Kuminga. Now I feel like we don't really want to trade him. A lot of people are saying trade Andrew Wiggins. He's been playing pretty good lately. Last game, he only had 9, you know, not the best game. 23 points against the Sixers, 8 for 10. Game before that, he was 8 for 12 with 22 points, 17 points here, 12 points here, 16 points here. Like, he's been doing pretty good recently. I think Wiggins just had a bad start to the year. And if I had to like put money on it, I honestly don't think the Warriors go out and bring in one of these stars that are still on the trade market, like a DeJounte Murray, Jeremy Grant, who I don't know. I don't think he's gonna get moved, but, you know, Kyle Kuzma, some of these guys that are like they're not really borderline all-stars, but maybe a tier below. I really don't know if the Warriors are going to make a move. Maybe a small one, but I don't think they're going to do anything big. And if they are, the players that you'd have to trade would have to be Andrew Wiggins and or Chris. Well, not both, so it wouldn't be but Andrew Wiggins or Chris Paul, just to kind of match the salaries. Then you'd probably have to throw, you know, like a Moses Moody and maybe some draft picks. But these would be the two. I don't really see them moving Draymond or Clay. In my opinion, trading Klay Thompson mid-year to not even really compete for a ring would just be like going out sad. It would just be going out on bad terms with Klay Thompson, in my opinion, because he is on the last year of his deal. If you're not going to bring him back, at least let him finish out his deal and, you know, see what happens in free agency. I know that might not be the smart move, because you could possibly trade Klay and get something if you don't think you're going to win a ring this year. But Klay's been so good for the last decade. I just think it would be just completely messed up for the Warriors to move on from him. And I don't think they will. I'm talking about this season, by the way. I mean, in the offseason, I honestly think, I mean, they're going to try to get Klay. They're going to try to bring him back, but they already tried to extend him and it wasn't enough money for Klay. So, I mean, this might be his last year as a Warrior. And that's why earlier in the year, I was a little bit okay with them possibly making a package and trading Klay for like a Zach LaVine. I know Zach LaVine's not Klay, but he's a pretty good 3-point shooter and he can kind of play that role. And he has some years left on his deal. Now that's out the window though, obviously. Zach LaVine, the news broke today or yesterday when you guys are seeing this, that he's going to be out for the season. Future's looking crazy bright for Jonathan Kuminga. Again, I can't stress it enough. He's 21 years old. I believe he was the youngest player in the NBA at one point when he was a rookie, like when he was like 19. Future's looking bright for Kuminga. In the comment section below, what do you guys think Kuminga's ceiling is? Do you think he's gonna be one of those generational all-stars? You know what I'm saying? Like when he finishes his career, he'll have like 8 all-star appearances? Or do you think maybe he'll be an all-star, you know, 1-2 years maybe? What type of career do y'all think Kuminga's gonna have? It's pretty hard to predict, but it's looking pretty good. It looks like he's gonna be a bona fide star in this year for, you know, the next decade. Not yet, you know what I'm saying? Give him a few years, but it's looking pretty good. A lot of y'all watch the videos, but you aren't actually subscribed. So go down below, make sure you're subbed up. We're on the road to 2K subs. Turn on my notifications so you don't miss a video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.